Hey, you, I was thinking about you, and you know what I was thinking? It's time for you to soar. Welcome to It's Time to Soar podcast, Getting Unstuck with me, Coach Katina. This podcast is for anybody who's looking for tips, tidbits, ideas in order to move to the next level. Sometimes the snags or the things that have us stuck, we know about, they're visible, and sometimes they're invisible. Today's episode deals with dispelling a myth. We've all heard what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, right? Well, I think that's a myth. Is that really true? In this episode, we're going to dive into that myth. Sometimes it's not strength that comes from your hardship. Sometimes the thing that was hard, the thing that was traumatic, doesn't make you strong. It just leaves you with baggage, emotional baggage. And when we don't realize that, we can carry that into our next step, our next move, our next job, our next part of our life. So today, join us as we uncover the truths about that and about the importance of healing before we move forward. Our guest today, Ty Makia Gambrell, is a consultant and a coach who is experienced in organizational development and is working on her PhD in education. She is going to tell us about her experience, and she knows firsthand the weight of unhealed wounds and give us some insights on transforming pain into progress. Help me welcome our guest, Ty Makia Gambrell.
Thank you, Katina. Hi, great to see you. Thank you for having me on to have this important discussion. I think this is a really good topic to talk about.
So we're definitely glad to have you here. And I want to just start out just asking, I already gave us the topic, the myth that says what doesn't kill us makes us stronger. I want to know what you think is the biggest misconception about resilience and trauma recovery.
Sure, Katina. So I don't know if I agree with the saying being a myth. I mean, it's certainly possible that what doesn't kill you can make you stronger. Here I am. But it takes work to be that stronger so that it doesn't kill you. It takes work. It depends on what your definition of stronger is. It mental or physical or what? It takes work to be that. And you have to know, for me coming from a Christian experience, I take my examples from reading and learning of God and looking at the things that He laid out for us. I'm also a side historian. I love history, and that's why I cling to the Old Testament. I don't discard the new, but I cling to the old. Now, when you talk about trying to get from, let's say, one place to another, trying to let go of the 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 trauma, you can't let go of unless you have a plan. That you have even Jesus, when he went to heal the paralytic, he first asked him, "Do you want to be whole?" You have to want to be. You have to want to not be held back by what was trying to kill you. You have to want to be stronger, and
So
you have.
would you say that's mindset?
It is mindset. If it's physical, we can do physical to become physically built up. But if it's mental, there's a lot of work that has to be done. And for me, it was introversion, thinking of, why am I going through this time? What is the purpose and the meaning? You have to find a purpose in what's trying to kill you. Otherwise, you'll just be floating through life.
I love that. You hint at, not even hint at, it takes mindset. And you said if it's emotional, but I would say that sometimes people that have physical challenges and there's the potential for rehabilitation or potential to get stronger, they too have to put their mind into it in order to
Right.
put the work. So
Absolutely.
it's mindset. Sometimes people don't even know though, and I don't know if everybody knows your story, but you are a survivor. Do you want to share any of that?
Survivor. Well, I'll tell you in context. I had a stroke almost 11, 12 years ago. I even stopped counting because it don't even matter to me how long ago it's been. The Lord is delivering any day now. And during that time with my physical therapy, I still have hemiplegia and hemiparesis on the left side, meaning that it doesn't function the way it should. And that's because of something that happened in the brain, a damage in the brain. But like we were talking, in the physical therapy, I went to have physical therapy every day, sometimes twice a day. I would always tell the therapist, listen, Dave, his name was Dave, I'm coming with my A game today. So every day my mindset was A game. And every day I went through therapy with a breeze because my mind was set when I went in that today I'm going to be on my A game. It was a challenge, but I had to talk myself into it every single day. And sometimes that's how we have to do when we're faced with a challenge that we've never been faced before. And it's not an easy thing. It's very hard. But like you said, the mindset puts you in the space where this isn't gonna break me.
Ah, I
And,
love
and
that.
one of my girlfriends, the cute one, we share a love of orange together. She came to the hospital to visit me. She said, "This is not you. This stroke is not you. You are not the stroke." And she encouraged me so, as she always does. And I clung to that. It wasn't to this day. It's still not me. It's something that happened to me, but I don't claim anything that associates with it. I even when I'm talking to Will and in passing, I never say my stroke. It's not mine. I don't take ownership of it. It was a stroke, and this
So
is this
let
is how.
me stop you and bring the viewers in. How many of you had to wrestle with disowning what happened to you, separating who you are from what happened to you or what was done or said to you? If that's you, type that in the comments. What happened to you is not you. I love that. And that's something to cling to when everything you're looking at speaks to the opposite. Wow. You are not your stroke. And so that starts a platform for that mental toughness, that mindset shift. And you also said you don't own the stroke. It's not your stroke. It is the stroke that happened to you.
Yes. Even I had to tell the doctor, listen, he says, well, you had your stroke such and such time. Listen, doc, I had a stroke. It wasn't mine. I don't take ownership of that. I don't, it's not mine. That came from somewhere that it happened. It wasn't mine. And
Oh,
so
I love that.
people say that, just as in passing, but I'm aware that I don't take ownership of it.
Mhm. I love that. So some people don't realize. So that's a physical one that you obviously are working through, and it's visible, you feel it, but some people don't even know that they're carrying like emotional traumas into
Mhm.
their next place. What are some signs of maybe some unresolved trauma or some unresolved issues that people might have carried into their next?
That's a great question. So I don't know if you know that I'm studying and getting my doctoral in traumatology. And I just recently just got through reading about domestic abuse and everything. That was my assignment for today. But when it comes to trauma, it kind of sneaks up on you because I can say that I've been in a state of being traumatized my whole life and I didn't know it. But every time a certain subject came up, I wanted to leave the room. I wanted to yell, scream, and kick. My insides were reacting to what was happening on the outside. And sometimes if you're experiencing trauma and you don't know what it is, you can't identify it, you get that feeling on the inside that something's not right, or I need to talk to somebody, or this can't be happening. There are a lot of internal issues that you tend to deal with, and strong people, like I consider myself strong. I ignore those feelings, ignore those um, signs early on because oh, that happened 20 some years ago. Why is that irritating me now? Why does that affect me now? That doesn't affect me. And I've even gone to the extreme of saying that doesn't affect me. When actually it did, or it does. If I can share something just a little bit. This past May, I had my mother came down to visit me in North Carolina, and we had a what do you call sort of like a come to Jesus moment with heart to heart to heart to heart. And some things were revealed and some things were said. And you know what? Now, when that subject comes up, I don't feel anything about it. I just immediately start praying that, hope things were okay with what that person had to go through. And it had me praying more for my mom because now I realize what the struggle within me was and how it came about. So I say all that to say if you don't address the issues or if you don't make it intentional to, bring it out or talk to
Mhm.
somebody, that it's always in there. It doesn't go away.
So I thank you for sharing that. I want to recap some of what you said and see what the audience thinks. When you described not realizing what the trauma was, sometimes people have blocked it out. Sometimes you said, "Oh, that's so long ago. Why is that bothering me?" Um, you said you had a reaction to it, like your body was reacting internally to something that was stimulated outside, something you saw, a presence in the room, a smell, whatever. And the psychological term I believe might be a trigger,
Mm-hmm.
and that it triggered something, and you may or may not have understood it at the time. Those of
Right.
you viewing, how many of you have had that happen where something happened and you had a reaction, but you didn't really know exactly why, or you couldn't put your finger on it? If that's you, type that in the comments. If you don't know what it is, that's one thing. But if you know what it is and you've been telling yourself, almost like when football players get wrapped up after an injury and go back in the game because there's too much at stake, sometimes we put our healing on the back burner and we just tough it out, either because we've learned it or that's just what we do. How many of you might have just been toughing it out?
Right. It's
Yeah.
and
So,
as an African American community, we tend to sweep things under the rug a lot. Just let it go. We sweep it under the rug until somebody's tripping over a lump under the rug. We just keep sweeping it and keep sweeping it, and now there's a whole hill up under the rug, and still nobody mentions it until one day it explodes, and then it's too late. Well, it may not be too late after the explosion, but because it's exposed, then that would be a good time to seek help. But
mhm,
sometimes you have to bring things out that are unhide things.
mhm, that's good. And the hill, you can trip over it, and sometimes tripping over it is what brings it out. So, talk to me. Have you seen any unaddressed trauma impact somebody professionally or personally?
Um, well, I mean, yeah, personally, I can see how certain individuals will they're dealing with something, and you know it. The strange part is you know that they're dealing with something specifically, and yet they say, "Oh no, I'm all right," or "No, it's okay." It's okay. It's not a good response ever.
It's
It's
okay.
okay.
Not a good
No, it's
response.
not. Tell me how it really is. It's not okay. And then sometimes you have to build up a level of trust with people to tell them, what's going on in your life. And a lot of times you like you said, you can't explain it. You don't even recognize it. I
Hmm.
remember it was about 16 years ago. I was working in corporate America, and I had begun to feel a certain kind of way. I was going down and down and down. Couldn't function at work, couldn't function at home, wasn't eating, wasn't sleeping. doing nothing but crying all day long. I didn't even realize a coworker brought it to my attention that I was depressed. I'm like, I'm not depressed. I didn't even know. I'm like, how can I be depressed? Nothing's wrong. And that was the problem. I was acting this kind of way and nothing was wrong. So when I ended up going to the doctor, I was able to get the treatment, but if somebody else hadn't recognized this, I don't know how long it would have gone on. But sometimes we have to just seek help and listen to other people.
Mm-hmm. So we're talking, you didn't know it. A coworker told you.
Yes.
What's the impact of that on a job, on functioning?
Wow.
What
Yeah,
hurt?
I guess I could have lost my job. Um, it just looks crazy. You imagine you working in an office and you walk by somebody's desk and every time you walk by they're crying. You ask them, "Are you okay?" They say yes, and you keep on going until the next time you come around and they still crying. And
Mm-hmm.
I mean, a lot of times I tried not to do that at my desk. I don't know why. I feel like I had a rhythm or a method to my depression. I would go in the bathroom because I didn't want people to see me that way. But she happened to come in the bathroom and see me. And "Are you okay?" was a question, and my response was, "I'm okay." I didn't
So
know I wasn't okay.
unpack that for me. You had a rhythm to hide your depression from your coworker, hide the depression
Yeah.
from your coworkers. Um, and what were you feeling? What were you hiding it from them? Why? Why were you hiding it from them?
Well, in my ignorance, I didn't know that it was depression. I was just thought I was hiding my sadness, my tears, and I don't need them to see me cry. This is my coworker. They're gonna think I'm weak or something if I'm at work crying or something. And that was just work. At home, I had two children I had to be example for, and they didn't understand because I didn't understand what was going on.
So you hid it because of the image.
Yes.
You didn't want to appear weak in front of your coworkers.
Right.
Anybody ever been under that stress of not wanting to appear weak in front of your coworker? Is that you? If that's you, where you felt that appearing weak would was associated with the emotion or the emotional roller coaster that you were going through, because tears are natural,
Hmm.
sadness is natural, it's an emotion, but you had the pressure of needing to not appear weak, and then you had added responsibilities of making sure the house was functioning the way it was. How many of you have been under that pressure? If that's you, type it in the comments. You've been under that pressure, didn't even know, you're just fully functioning. And then I say fully functioning as in checking the box. How much can you really pay attention to work compared to with a mind on hiding your emotion, being emotional, crying, managing somebody else's life, and hiding your own? How great was your work compared to if all of that pressure wasn't on you?
I really had no idea. I was robotic at the time. I was getting it done and moving on, getting home and on to the next act.
On to the next act.
Getting my kids fed, getting them, prepared for school or whatever that had to be done, and into my room is where I, yeah, I guess lost it most of the time.
And then you say lost it because it's like you exhaled. You had the mask up.
I kept it together for 8 hours, 9, 10 hours. Now I can let it go.
hmm And so you realized, and then you said you went and you got help. How important is getting help for
Getting
somebody that
help,
might be stuck?
yeah, getting help is extremely important. It's the answer to when Jesus says, "Do you want to be made whole?" I mean, the man didn't have to say yes, and Jesus already knew that he how long he had been there. The and what his situation was. He said, "Now listen, if you want this to happen, you're going to have to participate. Go to the doctor. Go, let them tell you, help you, and take the medication. It may be a stigma in our community, but nobody knew at this point but me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was not worried about anybody knowing that I had to take medication or I was
Mm-hmm.
restabilized. That wasn't even an issue for me. But what I noticed almost immediately, and I know medication don't usually work this way, but when I
Mm-hmm.
first started taking it, within a week, I noticed the difference
Okay.
immediately. I took it every single day, like they told me, and I noticed the immediate results.
Wow. Immediate results.
Yes.
So so many things that you said in there. So you made the decision and then you took action. So that's like building up the mental toughness needed to start the next part of the journey. So the first part of the journey was happening to you.
Yes.
But then the next part, once you decided to take action and to reclaim yourself, now that part was you taking
Participate.
it, participating. I love that you said you're going to have to participate. So for somebody that might be listening to us and they're struggling maybe with their issues, what would you say to them? What kind of tips or suggestions would you give them?
Well, the first is definitely introspection. You have to look within yourself and know yourself. I know that I was an emotional bag of rocks. I was hard on the outside, but on the inside, I was mushy. I was emotional. And I knew that there were some things that were triggers. Having to navigate all of that in a workplace was not my main concern because I wanted to maintain the status quo, maintain my job where I was, and maintain carrying out, my duties at home as a mother. And so being able to look within and identify what was going on, that I was able to respond, or um, I was able to participate with God and how He wanted me to be healed from that foolishness. And I don't say foolishness as a disrespect at all. I just say foolishness is because it it was a mess going through. But that's one of the reasons why you look inside and see yourself and you place yourself. You see how you want yourself. I wanted myself to be whole again. I wanted myself to not have to struggle daily just to get up out of the bed. And after I was able to participate with God in the sense of go get the help I need, I was able to do that. So like I said, the first is introspection, and then second is kind of like documenting and journaling, where you can see how at this point I was here and this point now I'm a little further, and sometimes it may not be huge leaps and bounds, but if it's a little different tomorrow than it was today, then I'm encouraged to keep going. Encourage yourself with little wins every day. And those are some of the things I use to kind of turn the corner on some things.
I love that. So introspection is number one. Look inside and be okay with looking inside and seeing what's not working, what doesn't serve you. Um, I would even add, and I as a coach,
Hmm.
if it's not something that needs medical counsel and deep therapy, I've coached some people that have had some of these challenges that they didn't know where to start, and I always recommend finding out the source of
Hmm.
it. And sometimes you need a therapist, sometimes you need a coach, sometimes you need a good friend. So there are different levels to it. So those of you who said that it was you that you're like, wait, maybe that's me or that was me, that kind of compartmentalized whatever you might have been going through and you didn't really deal with it, we're suggesting that you talk to somebody. One, is it a friend? Do you have a friend that you can confide in? And Ty, you said that confide in someone that you trust
Right.
with your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Find a friend, find a coach or mentor. Um, Ty and I both coach and mentor, and coach and mentors have a capacity to hold your stuff. And then when we're talking a deep mental, emotional trauma that you really are paralyzed and can't move forward, get yourself therapy. Talk
Mm-hmm.
to a therapist and find one that fits, and start to share and get healed. Um, because, and Ty, can you speak to what what does that look like if somebody doesn't get healed? Like, what risk do they run by just kind of doing what you did for a bit, just going through the motions, robotic, as you said?
Yeah. After a certain amount of time, it just becomes an accident waiting to happen. It's like driving a 18 wheeler with your eyes closed while you sleep. I mean, it's a train wreck almost. You can use all of those, colloquialisms to kind of or analogies to kind of show you how it is. But I don't know, and I don't want to know what would have happened if I had not taken the advice and gone to see somebody. Now, you mentioned, discovering the root cause, and I agree with that 100%. Now, for me, the root cause was physical. It was a chemical imbalance. It wasn't, anything that was going on in my life that caused me to be depressed. I had a chemical imbalance, and it kind of started something that happened to certain women. I mean, it doesn't happen to everybody, but to me, it did.
So there's chemical imbalance. When you get to the root, it could be chemical. Um, Sometimes it can be traced back to, and if we're talking workplace trauma, if we're talking through trauma that challenges you because you were at a company maybe that didn't allow you to speak up, that didn't value your voice, that didn't honor your voice,
Mhm.
that's a trauma. If I hit one that's you, say, "Oh, that was me." Maybe a workplace trauma where you weren't allowed to talk, your ideas weren't valued, where your culture wasn't valued. It could have been something that happened, how you grew up, that it wasn't recognized that women in your culture were allowed to share their voice, or that men were allowed to share their emotions. Go ahead, and maybe you have a different, and trauma seems like a strong word, but if it was an event that impacted you and continues to impact you, it may have been a traumatic moment, a traumatic culture, a traumatic lifestyle. Go ahead and type in the chat, in the comments, what it was
Mhm.
that you've seen either on yourself or other people that lingered through their lives, that lingered through their jobs, or etc. Ty, you have any other examples? There's chemical imbalance, and then there's some others. You have any others that you can cite?
Well, the one thing that I am basing my degree and dissertation on is adverse childhood experiences, otherwise known as baggage. And sometimes, and I believe you said it earlier, sometimes things that happen to you as a child, you don't realize how they will impact your adulthood. And then things start to creep up and creep in, and you think to yourself, well, where did that come from? And instead of searching that out, where did that come from, we sweep it under the rug.
Mhm.
Bygones, that was yesterday. But then something else happens, and so I'm on a continuous soul searching journey, and and the reason being is I feel like, well, I've had the feeling of being a silo in my family, and so
Mm.
it kind of made me want to understand, why am I different, and why, everything for me now is why. I'm like a 3-year-old. Why, why, why? And That's an important question. It sounds funny for a 3 year old to do it, but for 53-year-old, listen, you can find out some things about yourself that will help you enjoy the rest of your life and
Mhm,
be the person that you were called to and created to be toward
mhm,
mankind altogether. When you're not happy with yourself, how can you be happy around other people or
mhm,
doing work for other people? We're here to
mhm.
serve. That's what we're here for, and that's it.
I love that. I love that. So if you could give any final comments, and you've done a great job. The introspection is huge. The journaling, the keeping track of the journey is
Mhm.
huge because you can see trends, you can see data, you can understand and see visibly where you are and where you are not. Um, Talking to someone, getting some feedback, some help is great. And can you just give any final steps or tips for our viewers on
Yeah,
how they can maybe get unstuck?
yeah. So there's one thing I want you to ignore. If you have the heart and you get to someone that you want to have a discussion with and they say to you, well, just get over it. I want you to cross that person's name off of your friend list and take them out of your cell phone because just get over it is not a solution. It may harm more than it help. We get to a point in life where we need other people. And there are times when we have to step in and do things ourselves, make things right. Listen, you cannot go into another season without leaving the previous one properly. You can't just go on and say, "Oh, that never happened," and then expect things to be okay when you step into to next, because next is gonna be like, "Wait, you're not finished with before," and so I mean, imagine this. Imagine this. Here go an example. You got, and I'm talking to ladies now. You got beat up and battered and not physically, dogged or whatever by men all your whole singlehood. You didn't resolve that the issue was you all along. You tend to go, you want to go in a marriage and now you think you whole. You don't become a whole, or you don't get rid of the tendencies just because you got a marriage license. I mean, you have to figure out, why was I treated this way? What was it that allowed me to stay longer than I should have? Or, why is it hard for me to just move on? Because you have
Mm,
unresolved issues. You cannot move to the next without dealing with what happened before. And that's life in general. You can take that to the bank.
wow. You cannot move into your next if you haven't dealt with before.
Okay.
I love all of that. And too many times we've done that is we've just moved forward. But I am excited because the awareness is here. The call to action is here. If you are struggling, if you fit the signs of someone that has some unresolved past, some unresolved issues, whether it's childhood, whether it's familial, whether it's the last job you were in, the last relationship you were in, it's time for you to soar. And how you can soar is introspect. How am I behaving? What are my behaviors? Is it normal for me to behave like this? Number two, journal it so that you can start chronicling your challenges and your path out. You might need to three, talk to someone,
Mm-hmm.
talk to somebody, a friend, someone that's trusted, a counselor, a coach, a therapist, so that they can help you out of the journey. Again, journaling the whole time. I love what you said, Ty. Unfriend the person or be mindful of how much they impact your lives when they say, just get
Exactly.
over it. The fact that they could have been healed in less time, let me say it that way. They could have been healed already. The fact that they're not doesn't mean that they can just magically get over it. They need to do the work. And sometimes doing the work is on the back burner.
Right. So I'm gonna give you a quick example of how doing the work makes it better for you, or having to do something or leave going into your next, not dragging what was behind you before. In
Okay.
Genesis chapter 30 and 30, 32, 33, is the story of Jacob leaving his uncle Laban's place, because the Lord told him to go back to his parents' home. And so he is
Mm-hmm.
getting ready to go, but he already knows that he messed up back then. So he going back. He has to try to fix what he messed up before he go back home. He sends half of his camp. He sends some soldiers and say, "Go tell my brother I'm coming." And so they come back and tell him that, okay, your brother Esau said he's gonna meet you halfway.
Mm-hmm.
Jacob scared. He's done messed up on Esau, and he's scared. Uncle Laban is mad at him. Esau wants to cut him, and so he sends his spies out, or his people out, to tell Esau he coming. Esau said, "I'll meet you halfway." And so now he's scared. He's dividing up the camp. Take this half this way and this half that way. In case he attacks one, I'll still have the other. And as he goes on the road and he sees his brother, and his brother embraces him, and man, bygones be bygones. That is the best story ever. I mean, the thing to look at is that Jacob prepared the way for the reconciliation. He participated in the reconciliation by just saying, "I'm going to get up and go." Uncle Laban didn't put him out. He just decided to go back home because God told him to go back home. So now he's gone. So we have to step in and participate in what God is going to bless us with.
I love that. Participate in what God is going to bless us with. Thank you for sharing that. That's an incredible revelation. To our viewers, I hope that you were able to glean some of these nuggets that soon to be Dr. Ty dropped for us. Thank you for the gems. Thank you for your transparency today. We're looking forward to seeing everybody soar by doing what it is that was said. Get the mindset, be prepared to participate in the work, do the introspection, find out what's going on, talk to someone, journal and chronicle your journey, and become the self that you were created to be. I want to remind you all of something that Ty said in the very beginning, is that separate yourself from what happened to you. Don't own it. And the sooner you're able to do that, the better you are with separating yourself and beginning your healing journey. What doesn't kill you will only make you stronger if you participate in the practice and the process.
Process. Amen.
Yes, I'm going to say that again. What doesn't kill you will only make you stronger if you participate in the process. Happy healing to all of you. Thank you, Tynette, for sharing with us. We look forward to speaking with you soon. And I will leave your contact information in the description. So if anyone wants to contact you, they are able to. Thank you again.
Thank you so much for having me, Katina. It was a pleasure.
I hope you enjoyed this episode and that you are ready to put your mind to work, to do the introspection, to see what's going on with you, to make sure you're healed from all your past before you go into your next. Also, that if you need to, you'll talk to somebody, a friend, a counselor, a coach, a mentor, a therapist, and prepare yourself for your next. Chronicle your journey so that you can keep tabs on your progress and be ready to move forward into your next. Whatever happened to you is just that. It happened to you. It is not you. Be prepared because it's time for you to soar. We look forward to seeing you on our next episode of It's Time to Soar. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and you turn on your notifications so you are notified when the next episode drops.